He demonstrates both kinds of learning. That his learning of Shastra and Sanskrit and Dharma is very complete and deep, but also his knowledge of human psychology, motivation, the spirit, emotions, and how to apply this knowledge in different time and circumstance is also very deep. So in the beginning, when we approach this esoteric teaching, it's almost overwhelming, because we see that, you know, there's so many rules, and then there's rules about how to apply the rules, and the rules about how to interpret the rules, and so many different principles. And all of this is expressed in the Sanskrit language, which takes about 12 years to learn properly. So, in other words, this is a very, very substantial teaching. This is a very deep civilization based on spiritual values. And we should be very respectful and not expect that within 6 months or a year we're going to learn the whole thing and be expert. No, no. It's just not possible. Even the small slice of Vedic knowledge that is required for spiritual purposes, in my experience, it takes quite a few years to learn properly. You can't just read a couple of books like Bhagavad-gītā as if you're reading a novel, you know, and just skim through it and then expect to be able to apply it. They're not that kind of books. It's not that kind of knowledge. It's very deep knowledge, and it has to be not only learned. Learning or duplicating the information is only the first step. But then we have to actually realize it, and that's what takes the time and experience. So when we approach this Vedic knowledge, we should approach with all respect, and not try to crank out some superficial conclusion, because that will be very preliminary, and we almost certainly will miss the point or misapply the knowledge and develop a false sense of security about it, thinking that we're advanced. But in my experience, it took me about 20 years to actually learn this philosophy properly, and that was pretty much full-time study. I read Śrīla Prabhupada's books at least 5 times, each one. So, you know, don't take this knowledge cheaply. First, you have to learn how to learn, and then you have to actually learn it. So when we teach in our university, we ask people, after they complete the introduction and tell us about themselves so that we know who we're trying to work with, the next step is they have to complete the course on study. And the study course helps you learn how to learn. I say it helps you learn. It doesn't teach you, because that's not something that can be taught. But it is something that can be learned. Why? Because it's something that you have to do. So when you approach this Vedic knowledge, try to understand that it requires a great deal of time, self-discipline, study, work, and of course, following the directions of a bona fide spiritual master. That's essential. Otherwise, we're sure to misunderstand. Okay, the next section is dhirodhata. A person who is very envious, proud, easily angered, restless, and complacent is called dhirodhata by learned scholars. Such qualities were visible in the character of Lord Kṛṣṇa, because when he was writing a letter to Kalayavana, Kṛṣṇa addressed him as a sinful frog. In his letter, Kṛṣṇa advised Kalayavana that he should immediately go and find some dark well for his residence, because there was a black snake named Kṛṣṇa who was very eager to devour all such sinful frogs. Kṛṣṇa reminded Kalayavana that he could turn all the universes to ashes simply by looking at them. I love it. The above statement by Kṛṣṇa seems apparently to be of an envious nature, But according to different pastimes, places, and times, this quality is accepted as a great characteristic. Krishna's dhirodatta qualities have been accepted as great because Krishna uses them only to protect his devotees. This is very significant. Krishna never manifested anger on his own account, but only when his devotees were threatened with harm. And the greatest example, of course, is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Krishna promised that he would not take up any weapon. And then Bhishma promised that he was going to make Krishna break his promise. And he fought so valiantly against Arjuna that Krishna jumped down off the chariot in anger, picked up a chariot wheel, and was rushing at Bhishma. And so Bhishma surrendered. He put down his arms. But Krishna didn't kill him. Arjuna, in fact, ran after Krishna and grabbed him and stuff. Hey, stop. You have to keep your promise. Like that. So this is a great example of Krishna's anger towards someone, or actually another devotee, to save his devotee. Krishna, what is that? In other words, even undesirable traits may also be used in the exchange of devotional service. Sometimes Bhima, the second brother of the Pandavas, is also described as dhirodatta. Once, while fighting with a demon who was appearing as a deer, Krishna challenged him in this way: "I have come before you as a great elephant named Krishna. You must leave the battlefield, accepting defeat, or else death is awaiting you." This challenging spirit of Krishna's is not contradictory to his sublime character. Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible in his character. There's a nice statement in the Kurma Purana about these contradictory traits of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated there that the Supreme Person is neither very fat nor very thin. He is always transcendental to material qualities, and yet his bodily luster is blackish. His eyes are reddish. He is all-powerful, and he is equipped with all different kinds of opulences. Contradictory traits in Krishna's person are not at all surprising. One should not consider the characteristics of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be actually contradictory. One should try to understand the traits of Krishna from authorities and try to understand how these characteristics are employed by the supreme will of the Lord. So in other words, Krishna doesn't display these different moods simply whimsically. Although this is a good chance to bring up this topic of emotions and how the devotee does not react to external situation or conditions. Devotees respond. And the difference is, reaction is done without the participation of a person's will. It's more or less automatic, unconscious. But responding to a situation is done by an effort of will, a deliberate decision to manifest a particular mood. See? Devotees are detached. It's stated in Bhagavad-gītā that the devotees, the advanced souls, they don't become elated when there is happiness, and they don't become discouraged when there's distress. They neither suffer nor enjoy. See? Pleasure and pain are happening by the force of time. But enjoyment and suffering are attitudes towards pleasure and pain. If something nice comes and someone is just reacting to it, and then it'll be, oh yeah, great, oh this is wonderful, whoopee, you know. And then if something bad happens, oh, they become morose and depressed and all this. So these both extremes are illusory because they're temporary. in this world, pleasure comes and then it goes. Pain comes and then it goes. But how do we activities? These are just activities of the material modes of nature under the purview of time. How do we respond? Do we react and then we're on this roller coaster ride of being up and down and never knowing how we're going to feel or how we're going to manifest? We may be with someone very dear to us, but because something is causing us pain, then we become very harsh to them. You see? And then later on we regret and so many things. So the dealings between human beings are full of trouble and misunderstanding because of this. But the devotee is detached from the situation, whether it's bringing pleasure or pain. The devotee is